January 30th, 1933, Adolf Hitler is appointed Chancellor of Germany. On February 27th, the Nazi Party burns the Reichstag building to the ground, and Adolf Hitler seizes power. Little did the world know it stood upon the brink of a Second World War. Then, after the death of the German President Hindenburg, Hitler becomes Der Führer, the supreme leader of the German nation. On September 1st, 1939, Hitler invades Poland. 2 days later, Britain and France declare war on Germany. German blitzkrieg overwhelms Belgium, Holland, and France. In the month of September, the Nazis begin their first experimental use of gas chambers in Auschwitz. And on the 29th, they murder 33,771 Jews at Kiev. However, not even this could bring the U.S. into the European war. It took an attack on the American Pacific waters.
Yesterday, December 7th, 1941, a date which will live in infamy. The United States of America was suddenly and deliberately attacked by naval and air forces of the Empire of Japan.
But how much of the war was truly a glorious epic battle between good and evil? Was the United States the forces of good that saved the world from becoming enshrouded in darkness? Perhaps the best way to answer this question is to look at the war through the eyes of a first-hand account.
This is the story of Mel Albert. He was a young boy born and raised in Oak Grove, California. Little did he know he was going to be drafted in World War II.
They drafted you. You're not a civilian anymore. You're a soldier right there. You go, geez, we just got here a couple of days or so.
Soon after Mel was drafted and went through training, he then became part of the 36th Texas Infantry.
Because I think I was the only guy from California. Yeah, that's no kid. Hey, kid, where you from? California. California? Oh, gee, what the heck is California? I couldn't believe it. But I finally got to be good friends with them all. I used to joke with them and everything. I had a lot of fun.
Throughout the war, his comrades really enjoyed his company because he was an outgoing person.
Everybody knows everybody. And everybody helps everybody.
During the war, he served as a mortarman. Mortar is a heavy pipe that shoots out a bomb-like missile.
Oh yeah, I was a mortar once I got in there.
The whole entire time?
Until I come home. Oh yeah. I was lucky. Because if you're a rifleman, your chances are zip. At least the mortars, you're behind the line. I mean, maybe 100 yards or 75 yards from where the fighting is. You know, that's safe. But the rifleman, man, they tell them. You got that officers there who wants you to move up this way, move up that way. They don't give a darn about where the shots go over there. They just push all the time.
One strong memory Mel had and will never forget was when he liberated a concentration camp.
Yeah, pulled back for a while. So my buddy and I, he says, see the village up there, the side of that hill? It's about the side of Jack's Peak, something like that. And we heard a lot of people in there, and a lot of kids hollering, screaming and all that kind of stuff. I told my colonel, I says, let's go in there and see, who's the man. We opened that door and we looked, and I says, oh, Jesus. And there were prisoners in there. And I says, babies, kids, they had them all locked up in this big building over there and everything. And then they had a big wire fence too, all the way around it. So there was no way you couldn't get out of there anyway. I mean, out of the where the ground stuff is.
To this day, the memory of this is very unbearable for Mel to talk about.
I just couldn't believe a lot of the things I seen there. I said, that's impossible. Because when you walk into a building, all you hear is kids crying, kids screeching, women screaming, men groaning and all that. And then you open that door and it's, the little kids running up to you, Huh? Imagine that.
After the liberation of the concentration camp, the war was slowly coming to an
Well,
end.
they were losing, let's put it that way. And their equipment was, they lost a lot. They didn't have like they had before, you know. They had weapons there that nobody even knew. But they put on a good fight though, you know what I mean? You just didn't go in there and that was it. They'd stay there, dug in and everything. They might be dug onto the side of a hill there or dug in from the, oh, it was amazing. All of a sudden you hear a bunch of shots coming in and all this. There's a lot of things I don't, I was in, but I don't remember. You know, just fades away. But sometimes I would think a little bit and then say, God damn, you're lucky, you know, that's it. You know.
And then, during battle, Mel's foot was struck by a piece of shrapnel.
Down there went to the, God damn, well, that one was close. There, I got banged up there. They better put me in the hospital. Hey, all that kind of stuff there. Then after a while, you get kind of used to it, you know. Just like when I got banged up on my leg, and I said, "Oh man, I might be able to go home." They didn't fool around too much, you know. It was going to take too much time. You just get it, you know. Take part of it.
And then it finally came. Victory in Europe.
A lot of people were freed. They didn't have to worry about getting shot, butchered, or anything anymore.
The war was finally over. However, Mel's happiest moment was yet to come.
I come home, see Mom and Dad, which I didn't think I would. That's it.
This personal account of Mel Albert certainly reveals a story of good versus evil. However, facts that should not have been forgotten were lost in this personal account. On February 19, 1942, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt signs Executive Order 9066. The order confined all Japanese Americans to internment camps across the nation. Japanese, as well as many Italian and German American citizens, were stripped of their property and ordered to live in small internment camps for the remainder of the war. Many would relate this confinement to the concentration camps in Germany. Such an act does not seem to be one of the good and free. However, above all things, the worst of which was the atomic bomb. Although it did bring an end to the war in the Pacific, it in turn brought on a new age of warfare. The bombings of Hiroshima and Nagasaki killed nearly 250,000 people. Many died from radiation sickness, others from acute burns. The act was deemed necessary by President Truman. However, it leaves an ugly imprint on America's involvement in World War II. Many critics deemed it a necessary evil to end the war and show the world of the dangers of atomic warfare. This act certainly debunks the U.S. as being classified as a pure force of good. Either way, what can be concluded from the sources is that Romanticism certainly pervaded the war. However, the U.S. involvement was very dynamic and complex, and therefore cannot be classified into either a pure force of evil or good.